I would never. Asmini, the chair recognizes the honourable member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'll start off by saying, like Sinan's indicated, just in case our viewing public just tuned in, I'll repeat some of what I said this morning because it's very important. Madam Speaker, I want to start my contribution on a positive note by congratulating the entire team, Bahamas, on the stellar performance at the World Athletic Relays. We are also extremely proud of the mixed 4x4, as indicated earlier, that ran a new national record. Our team members, Stevie Gardner, Shawnee Miller, Rebo, Alonzo Russell, have already solidified themselves as a Bahamian legacy. And we are so happy to see that continuing. As for Ms. Shania Adley of Grand Bahama, all that needs to be said is, well done, young lady. You have made your island and your people extremely proud. It is only fitting that you were given a hero's welcome back to Grand Bahama. You delivered an inspiring performance and showed not only Bahamians, but the entire world to never give up. Your journey has just started with so many more of these great moments ahead of you. Madam Speaker, I cannot continue to stress enough how important it is for us to support all of our athletes and the support team. Not just when they're doing well. We are seeing our talent being displayed at top levels. We must indeed invest in their future. How are we going to ensure that we are using the talents of the seasoned athletes to make ours better? Madam Speaker, I did say this would be a positive start, but it's no secret that I'm very passionate about sports in the Bahamas. We are excited to watch our athletes perform in Paris, and we know they will take it and bring medals back home. I just hope that we are putting our money where our mouth is to make sure that they are indeed fully ready. Madam Speaker, I speak to Grand Bahama. Seeing that I mentioned the greatness that Grand Bahama produces, I want to pivot quickly to the produce that the people of Central Grand Bahama are creating through our backyard farming program. It is always a pleasure for me to stand here and share the news of the work being done with the Central Grand Bahama Farmers Market. This upcoming weekend again, we'll be hosting one of our famous markets at the Royal Oasis ground. Shoppers will have the chance to purchase fresh produce grown right here in the Bahamas, and more specifically on Grand Bahama. This initiative has given residents from across the island the opportunity to engage with one another and, of course, to support one another. I invite, therefore, all local and international visitors, taxi and tour bus drivers to stop in and visit us in Grand Bahama. This is just a small way for us to do our part in the local and global food security efforts. It only needs to start with one backyard farm. Any small movement towards food security in the Bahamas is a major step for our future. We will continue to push the envelope for this matter to remain a top priority. Along with our farmers market, Madam Speaker, we have coming up on the 25th of May a post-Mother's Day luncheon. I also welcome you all to attend and come celebrate with your mothers, wives, sisters, and daughters. You know, unfortunately, my mother is no longer here with us, but I indeed celebrate her every day. I also celebrate my wife and other amazing women in my life who give life indeed to the world. Madam Speaker, before I move on to today's debate, I want to bring a matter of extreme importance to me that exists in Grand Bahama. See, I hail from a small community called Waterkey that is on the north side. And we are presently abiding or surviving in that community without a dock. No private dock or public dock for the residents. Residents are anxious and ready to rebuild, but are having a hard time, Madam Speaker, getting materials and machinery on the island because of the absence of this very important infrastructure. Madam Speaker, on top of dealing with frequently low tide issues on a very heavily deteriorated access road, once a person reaches the island with construction materials, Madam Speaker, unfortunately, they have to jump out of the boat and carry the materials on their shoulder or on their head onto the mainland. And as you can imagine, it's very time-consuming and exhausting. By the time they offload, these individuals are already tired, exhausted, and ready to turn back to the city. Madam Speaker, there is a microgrid project planned for the island, and there's a town meeting this coming Thursday in Freetown. The fear is that it probably won't happen because of the issue of no dock. If the residents are having challenges with regular cargoes, you can imagine the challenge it will be to execute a project of this magnitude without the proper infrastructure in place. The residents were advised, Madam Speaker, that the dock that was planned was too expensive for such a sparsely populated community. Well, Madam Speaker, being able to work and live on the island should never be too expensive. The residents are not asking, I'm not pointing my finger at anyone. The residents are not asking, Madam Speaker, if it was said on several occasions that the dock is too expensive because of the small population. The residents are not asking for a Rolls Royce of a dock. We're not asking for a BMW of a dock. We're not asking for a Mercedes of a dock. Madam Speaker, we will sell for a 10-speed of a dock. Because a 10-speed bicycle of a dock will make a Rolls Royce of a difference in our community. Madam Speaker, we could take whatever small we have will make a big difference. It is very difficult. It is extremely challenging. And no, I didn't say you. I didn't say we. I didn't say we. I said we as a people, we, the community, will settle for the most basic dock because it will make a major difference. I've inquired over and over. And part of the challenge is, a member said, it is not here, and I'm not going to call him here, said the reason is the dock is causing over $800,000 for a small community. I said, well, guess what? Just downscale it. Let's downscale it because a smaller dock will make a major difference. We don't need to have the $800,000. We need to, and we expect some money from you who's always in Grand Bahama too. You are one of us in Grand Bahama, so we look for your contribution also. $2 will make a major difference. And that is that on the floor? Will you stand and say that so we can put it into the record? Madam, no, but it is a very serious matter because my hometown was called the Little Egypt of Grand Bahama at one point, where major farming and fishing took place. And when the mainland of Grand Bahama was going through hardships, just about everything grew on Water Key. So a person was coming over there for produce, and in fact, my grandfather, who ended up being an MB, was able to bring produce all the way to Nassau during one of the major hurricanes, just to make sure that food was important, was supplied. Sure.
Is how much does it, I mean, do you actually have to build a dock for $800,000? So how much would a dock cost? That'd be the first point, right? How much would you be able to get with a dock? Say?
Well, I know Ministry will make the call, but in my background, there was one that was built. The last one that was built was about $250,000, and that was even longer than we needed. So a dock, if we build it back for that amount, that should be adequate. And the residents are willing to pitch in and work with the government, just provide material and lay out costs, just to ensure that we have this important infrastructure. We do have licensed contractors on the island. Pardon? We do? Yeah, we do have, yeah. We'll just work on the costs to make sure that it's done.
No one can make money if you're doing it for free.
Well, it won't be free. It'll be at cost, but again, it'll make a difference towards the survival. So I'm advocating for us to find a way to get it done, have some repairs done to the road, and also have the dock. Because again, the microgrid that is being proposed, one of 5 East Grand Bahama, we don't want it ever to be said that, well, it's too difficult for us to get there, and it's too expensive for the contractor to get materials over to the island, so therefore, we'll delay it or cancel it. We want to make sure that the infrastructure is in place so that we can carry the materials to the island, and the solar farm that is being planned can be constructed.
Madam
Put $75,000 down. Next budget cycle. 75,000.
You all give me $75,000 for the dock.
No, you got 150 coming to you for a year. 75,000, you put down 75,000. Then I'll argue with the member next door for the next 75. You make that pledge.
For information purposes, the dock was approved previously. The dock was previously approved by the former minister. The dock was previously approved. However, along the way, it was not priority anymore, and there's been a shift in the whole attitude towards it. So of course, we are hoping that at the end of the day, we can come to some sort of agreement where that once vibrant community, persons are interested, they want to rebuild. We lost our whole fishing lodge there after Dorian, and we weren't able to restart the construction because of the difficulty of getting materials back and forth. So it's a crucial matter for the survival of the community. Madam Speaker, and I turn my attention to the two substantive bills in front of us. The Supreme Court Amendment Bill 2024 and the trial by judge alone miscellaneous provision 2024. While the official opposition, as was stated earlier, understands the intentions behind the bill and can support these intentions, there are several concerns that must be raised and given credence. Madam Speaker, the Supreme Court Amendment Bill 2024 seeks to regulate the active management of civil and criminal matters before the Supreme Court. The trial by judge alone miscellaneous provisions Bill 2024 seeks to provide an alternate mode of trial for persons committed to stand trial in the Supreme Court on indictment. Madam Speaker, simply put, these pieces of legislation seek to change the way in which certain criminal matters are handled in the Supreme Court. It also seems to give the accused a choice of how they want to be judged. We know that given the recent spate of crime, there is an urgency to ensure that these crimes are being solved, but that they are also being tried in time. We also want to make sure that justice is truly being served, Madam Speaker. However, as we seek to implement significant policies that impact our fundamental rights, especially one of a fair trial, we must make sure, Madam Speaker, that it is indeed done right. My motto in this House has always been, let's get it right the first time. In its current form, the trial by judge bill will allow an accused person to waive their rights to jury trial and elect trial by judge alone. This can be done whether the accused person has sought and received legal advice or waived their rights to legal advice. Where an accused person waives his or her rights to legal advice, the bill provides that the judge shall make an order for trial by judge alone only if satisfied that the accused person is competent to elect trial by judge alone without legal advice, has clearly and unequivocally elected to be tried by judge alone, understands the effect of electing trial by judge alone, and files a certificate of waiver. Madam Speaker, in theory, this sounds like the true free will. But there are so many other questions that need to be answered with this level of empowerment and blurring the lines of the judiciary. We fear that this will open the door to too many other challenges. Firstly, in my opinion, the fundamental rights under the Constitution are too important in a democratic society to be allowed to be waived by any person who is charged with a crime. If the fundamental right to a trial by jury can be overridden by this bill under the guise of a waiver by a person, what about other fundamental rights of Bahamians under the Constitution? Can they also be waived? And these are questions. These other fundamental rights under the Constitution include protection of the right of life, Article 16. Protection from inhumane treatment, Article 17. Protection from slavery and forced labor, Article 18. Protection from arbitrary arrest or detention, Article 19. Protection from privacy of home and other property, Article 21. Protection of freedom of conscience, Article 22. Protection of freedom of expression, Article 23. Protection of freedom of assembly and association, Article 24. Protection of freedom of movement, Article 25. Protection from discrimination on the grounds of race, etc., Article 26. And finally, protection from deprivation of property without compensation, Article 27. I'll deal.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Rise to move a motion that the House sits beyond 1 p.m.
I'm not paying.
Thank you, honourable members. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House proceed beyond the 1 p.m. hour. As many are in favour will remain seated.